Well, hello down there and up here. It's great to see each and every one of you here tonight. And Christmas is all about creativity. Who can create the best Christmas advert, the best Christmas #1, shop windows, wreaths, cards, most creative Christmas present, even the most tenuous link between Christmas and commercial pursuits. But Christmas is about creativity, even more than we might first realize. Because whilst the Bible describes God as our Savior, as our friend, as our comforter, as our healer, as our counselor, before all those things, before anything else, God is described as our Creator. If we go back to the start, in the very first verse of the Bible, in Genesis, we read, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the reading that we heard at the start of the service tonight, we see that John begins his gospel with the same 3 words. In the beginning. In the beginning. In the beginning was the Word, and that is Jesus. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And then we see, John writes, through him all things were made, and without him nothing was made that has been made. There's a beautiful sculpture at Chartres Cathedral in France, and it's of Jesus tenderly, lovingly creating Adam. And the Bible tells us that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. That Jesus made you, and that he fearfully and wonderfully and tenderly made you and me. We tend to think more of Jesus as being in the cradle at Christmas, or on the cross at Easter. But here he is Creator. Christmas is about the Creator in the cradle. Before Jesus turned water into wine, before he healed the sick, he performed the miracle of life. Not just creator of the world, but creator of you. He loved you into being. He loved you into existence. And so however out of control this world might feel, or your life might feel at this Christmas, you are not here by accident. You are not random, you are not a mistake. You are planned and designed to be a masterpiece, to be one of a kind, totally bespoke. Jesus Christ created every hair on your head, every fiber, every cell. And God, he is the God of the big picture, but he's also the God of the intricate detail. But there's a spanner in the works. Because John also writes that the true light that gives light to everyone was coming into the world. And he was in the world, and though the world was made through him, the world did not recognize him. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. Even though we were made by him, we couldn't see it. We didn't recognize him. Disconnected from the very source of life. And the result of this is the opposite of creation. It's decreation. Undoing all that is meant to be, all that you and I were created to be. I wonder if you've ever felt like you're wasting away or lost. And that is the result of evil. That is the result of destruction, of decreation that we see in our world today. When we think about Christmas, when we think about time off with family and friends and the word recreation, literally recreation, and we take out time to be restored, to be recreated. And yet often we return in January not feeling replenished, but more with the January blues. And why is that? Because cozy Christmas days will not in and of themselves recreate you. The only way to be fully recreated is in the arms of your Creator, in Jesus Christ, to learn who you are in the company of your Creator. St. Augustine said, "You have created us for yourself, O Lord, and our heart is restless until it rests in you." Because Jesus, he doesn't just create you and then send you off on your merry way. The creativity doesn't end with him just having created you in the first place. John writes, "Yet to all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. Children born not of natural descent, nor of human decision or a husband's will, but born of God." And this is the second creation. That Jesus, he created you in the first place, and now he recreates you. He recreates you as his child. Totally characteristic of Jesus to be so creative. Totally consistent of Jesus to love you enough to create you in the first place, and then to love you enough to recreate you after the decreation that you and I go through. In the service of 9 lessons and carols at King's College in Cambridge, this prologue, this passage from John's Gospel is read right at the very end of the service. It's the final lesson. It's the climax. The whole thing that this story has been pointing to, everything from the beginning, everything has been pointing to this most outrageous, subversive, and wonderful creative act. And St. Augustine also wrote that although creation by the word has happened to you, so that you've been made by him, by Jesus, you are unmade by yourself. If by yourself you are unmade, let him who made you make you new. If by yourself you've been made worse, let him who created you recreate you. I wonder if you've ever moved to a new town and you've had this moment where you've realized, I get to reinvent myself here. I get to recreate myself. And actually, that whole idea of self-expression begins at a very early age. This morning here at church, we had our family carols where children were invited to come dressed as their favorite character from the Nativity. And so my son is 3 years old, and out of all the panoply of options that he could have chosen, did he go for a shepherd or a wise man or even an angel or a star? He actually decided in his wisdom to come as the lesser associated but still valid option of Fireman Sam. The thing is, most people don't realize that Fireman Sam was at the birth of Jesus, along with the third lobster. Since the 18th century, we have been swimming in this current in our society of self-expression, this romantic notion of expressing ourselves, that our identity is found sort of bubbling up from within inside of ourselves. And that is totally the norm. That it's quite confronting to challenge that, to counter that. But this idea to create and to recreate yourself, when you think about it, it's actually quite a burden. What is the essence of me? Is it my job? Is it my skin color? Is it where I'm from? Is it my likes and my dislikes? You don't have to be accepting an Oscar award and giving a speech there to be humble enough to recognize that we are not self-made men and women. And then there's also the tension that we feel inside of ourselves. The tension we feel between our own individuality and that desire to be part of something bigger. It was the philosopher Tom Morris who once wrote that there are 2 striking human passions, the passion for uniqueness and the passion for union. Each of us wants to be recognized as a unique member of the human race. We want to stand apart from the crowd in some way. We want our own dignity and value. But at the same time, we have a passion for union. for belonging, even for merging our identities into a greater unity in which we can have a place, a role, a value. And tonight, I believe God wants to tell you that he uniquely loves you, that he created you tenderly and fearfully, and he uniquely loves you, and he has a unique plan for your life. But the only way that you and I discover that is in relationship with Jesus, with the one who created us in the first place. And that's how God chose to reveal himself at Christmas, in union with you and me. That although he was outside of creation, he stepped into what he had made. Like a Shakespeare entering his play, or Leonardo his painting, or Taylor her, song. That God chose to enter what he had made. Jesus, the infinite, became an infant. And although he was all-powerful, he chose to connect to us through vulnerability. Just like all good artists, connecting through vulnerability, connecting through weakness. We have 2 young children, and we've got a 15-month-old at the moment, and she is utterly dependent on her parents. And this precious life is so fragile and so looking to us for all that she needs. And Jesus learnt what it was to become one of us. He comes to us vulnerably, as a baby. And Jesus, he goes on relating to us out of that place of humility. Jesus doesn't need to defend himself. And that's why I'd love to encourage you to come on this thing that we run called Alpha in January. Because we get to bring our challenge, we get to bring our questions, we get to bring the conundrums that are going on in our life and what we're thinking about faith and what we think about God. And he connects with us humbly and vulnerably. And if we do that, if we connect ourselves to our Creator, to Jesus himself, and find ourselves in his love and care, we discover ourselves more than we'd ever dreamed or dared to be. Made in God's image, and yet each of us utterly unique, with unique creativity to offer this world. And so this Christmas, to be creative, we don't need to whip ourselves up into some kind of creative frenzy. And is it finished yet? Am I really done? Am I finished here? What else do I need for me to be complete? In Jesus, we see the fullness of life. We see the completion of who we are, and we see Jesus as our Creator. So simply let Jesus recreate you. The offer is to say sorry for disconnecting myself from you, for the destruction and for the decreation. And then simply to receive your Creator again, as John says. And that means saying yes to him, saying yes to who he is, saying yes to him recreating you. Simply believing in his name, believing in Jesus is to receive this new creation, John writes. To believe in the original Creator, the author and the perfecter of your life, the real and the true artisan that this world needs. The staggering truth that we discover, John tells us, is that when we do that, we are recreated. We are recreated as children of God. The most common question that children ask from the age 12 onwards is, who am I? Who am I? Do you know who you are? This Christmas, you are not your GCSE results, you're not your A-level results, you're not your fitness, you're not your weight, you're not your fashion sense or your lack thereof, you're not your job, You're not your mistakes. You're not your addictions. And you're not your insecurities. You and I can know that we can be children of God. And if we let that reality sink in, even just for a few seconds a day, just imagine the impact that would have on us and on our world around us. It was another John, the 18th century romantic poet John Keats, who wrote, "Beauty is truth, truth beauty. That is all ye know on earth, and all ye need to know." And that is the work of the artist, to tell us the truth. However uncomfortable that truth may be, and to do so in a beautiful way. And in the face of this baby Jesus, we see beauty and truth like the world has never seen. John tells us that he came full of truth and full of grace, all when the Creator entered the cradle.